Another key employer for decades here in Hampton Roads is, of course, NASA. Please welcome NASA's Principal Technologist, John Vickers.
Okay, thank you very much. First, let me say I'm very happy to be here, and on behalf of NASA, we're extremely excited to partner with Thomas Nelson Community College on such a special topic. I'm going to talk about, so I only have 15 minutes. I'm right between you guys and lunch. I'll probably never get this done, but I'm going to try to talk about three topics: the next generation of students and workforce, the digital transformation, and career and technical education, and how maybe connect the dots or bridge the gap between those two. But I was thinking as I walked up, there's at NASA there's sort of an unspoken, unwritten rule in public speaking not to follow an astronaut. So when I go back, I'm going to have to add to that and say, don't follow a senator, not a author, CEO, all those things. But I'll do my best to get through this. I want to thank Patrick and my good friend Stu Harris, who works at Thomas Nelson, for the invitation, and all the other folks that helped to get me ready to make this event possible. And I'm especially glad to share the stage with Senator Kane. I know Representative Scott's here, and Mike and Matthew that preceded me. They're showing their leadership here today by sharing their passion and their vision and their wisdom for the mission of CTE. Career and technical education is a special thing. It's special to me. And I think that this is an ideal community to have this discussion, to start this discussion. Really, the community is the backbone of an initiative like this if you're to be successful, and I know that's why you're all here. We had an overflow crowd today. NASA and the Department of Defense and the Virginia aerospace and defense community all have deep roots in manufacturing technology and innovation, and that's really all starts with education, career and technical education included. Dr. Dever mentioned this, that there about a little remark he made about the skills gap, and I have some statistics from a recent Deloitte study about manufacturing and the future of manufacturing, and it says nearly 3.5 million manufacturing jobs will become available by 2025, but because of the skills gap, 2 million will remain unfilled. That was a little surprising to me. The study also said something that Senator Kane made me think about, and that's that 90% of manufacturing companies are small businesses, and that 80% of those have less than 20 employees. So you've got to think many of those employees are CTE educated employees. All right, so my instructions were really strict from Patrick to keep this to 15 minutes. So I'm going to have to make my remarks really brief. But I sort of finished this talk, typed it up about a week ago. And once I do that, I don't really go back and change it much. And I didn't do that. But especially over the weekend, I kept thinking of other things that I should probably say or probably do. So now, and all my analogies are sort of like the sewing machine image that we saw earlier. My grandchildren just don't get them much, but now I feel sort of like you used to feel back in the days of grocery store paper bags, and you came running in and you've got way too many things in your arms, and so you don't think you're going to make it. So that's sort of how sort of how I feel today, but I'll try to say a few things for you to think about and that are worthwhile. I'll start by saying this is not my first interaction with Thomas Nelson. Together with Stu Harris, that I've already mentioned, then from NASA Langley, now leading an advanced manufacturing initiative with Thomas Nelson. Many years ago, we helped to start something called Space Tech, which has been a very successful national aerospace technical education initiative, so I count that as one of my accomplishments over a very long career. At NASA, every day we encourage the study of the STEM fields through education partnerships and outreach activities in schools throughout the country. So I was thinking a couple of weeks ago when I first invited to this, I was watching one of our astronauts speak and talk about the view from the International Space Station. And you can all sort of see that view, right, from the International Space Station of the Earth. And it told, for her perspective was, it was the first time that she had really understood how the Earth is all connected. It's this one ecosystem, right? And so I thought that it's all connected. So I believe that's the same way with education and workforce and business. It's really all one ecosystem, right? And it all has to work together. So it's about partnerships, and it's that ecosystem, and especially if you want to do something extraordinary as an individual, I think you really got to be a part of that relationships and partnerships and ecosystem. So it's well known in NASA history, at least, that Dr. von Braun asked, when he came to NASA in Huntsville, he asked the Alabama legislature to provide funding for a university to support NASA. So during his 1961 address to the Alabama legislature, he said, "It's the university climate that brings the business." So let's be honest with ourselves. Opportunity goes where the best people go, and the best people go where the education goes. Okay, so I know I'm still between us and lunch, and I was going to make these points about bridging the gap between next generation digital transformation, career and technical education. Maybe we should be talking about the next generation of career and technical education. But I better get to my point. So I've got some charts here, if I know how to work this. So there they are. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about excitement for that next generation. I think that's critical for this next generation of students. I know my grandchildren and my kids are a little bit grown, but that generation is a little bit impatient. Now, I don't have anything negative to say about the next generation, because I do my best when they come to NASA, and I'm going to close with a slide, to meet them and see what, like Mike talked about, what we can do to make them successful, because that's really what we want to do. So this slide is all about the exciting NASA missions that we have. And so I've really had a career to imagine. I mean, it has been so much fun. Little did I know, by the way, that it's this time in my career, the end of my career, when I think it's become maybe the most exciting time in my career. But today across the country at NASA, we're building, you see the image on the left there, the Space Launch System, the most powerful deep space rocket that will take astronauts on missions back to the moon and ultimately on to Mars. And then if you look at all those other images, by the way, if you look at the image on the top right, that's a piece of equipment. It's an automated, computer-driven fiber placement machine that's located at NASA Langley. What career and technical engineering graduate wouldn't want to go to NASA Langley, work with the latest, most advanced manufacturing kind of equipment? Anyway, in my work, but I would really, I heard Matthew talk about the motorcycle shop. I think I would be thrilled to work in a motorcycle shop, wouldn't you guys? But, so if there's a way to have an adventure in my work, whatever it has been or would be, I'll find it. It's really the most fun I've ever had. So I've got a video more about excitement, and so I'm sure Patrick's back here to.
Ground leader checking in.
I was directly told that we cannot land on Mars before we do mention. We're dead.
All in a day's work.
When we look at the night sky, we say to ourselves, are there any planets out there that are possible homes for humanity?
Space camp opened the path for me to do things that I really want to do.
Kids today have that same drive, that same passion that I had watching the first American launch into space.
We got to the moon, and it's a stepping stone to the red planet.
It would be so amazing to see the Martian surface with my own eyes.
Having a man or woman walk on Mars is just the most badass thought in my mind. It's been over 50 years since we've done something significant like this.
We don't really go to space anymore. People are losing touch with their human spirit.
We have an entire generation who want to go to Mars, but all of that will fall on our soil if there isn't some big mission where they can apply this enthusiasm.
Some people think it's fine to just stay on Earth forever, and some people don't.
Let's go out there and make discoveries. Let's change the world.
Somebody from my generation will put their footprint in the Martian soil.
I can't think of a better thing to be defined by.
It's our duty to breathe fire into the imagination of these young people, because our true place is among the stars.
Yeah, I'll stop that there. But so that's that. I'm going to close with a slide that'll sort of bring that back. But that's how inspired this next generation is. And I know as educators, you guys probably you probably see that all the time. But that's a Netflix documentary, and I've seen it a couple of times. It's really great how they've interwoven the teenagers with the historic footage. So you ought to go watch that. So I serve on a White House subcommittee on advanced manufacturing, and we're presently developing a national strategic plan for advanced manufacturing. We actually welcome public input, so if you guys want to go and provide some public input, feel free. The deadline's actually closed, but we're still taking input. So don't if you feel compelled, send us what you think. We'll still get it. But so I led a roundtable in Long Beach, California, just about a month ago to go out and seek public input for this national strategic plan, and lasted about 3 hours. I thought, what are we going to talk about for 3 hours? And we had 7 questions, and one of the questions was, what should we do about workforce and education? Well, so we spent a lot of time talking that question, thought we would never get to the other 6 questions, but every time we moved on to another question, workforce and education continued to come up. So it was by far the biggest topic of conversation for 3 hours, and we could have gone on for 6 hours, I believe. But one of the biggest topics of discussion within workforce and education was excitement, and so that's why I decided to talk about that here today. And I wrote down some comments, but I'll make one and to make it short. But one comment was that German companies advertise at soccer games, so German manufacturing companies advertise at soccer games to attract the young people. And so I don't know, there's something in that that we don't do that they're doing that I think we should do it, and it's that we're missing sort of that excitement factor. So let's see, I've got another chart. I've got my other chart up. So I want to make this point about about the digital transformation, which includes things like digital manufacturing, the digital twin. There's a lot of terminology out there. But it's the digital transformation that's changing the nature of work and the way we will work. I'm sure it's also changing education. The digital transformation is this mega trend, and I think it's the mega trend above all other trends that we've got going on in business and society. I know it's here because my 79-year-old dad and my 5-year-old granddaughter both received the Amazon Echo Alexa devices for Christmas. So it's pervasive. It's got us all. I mean, we're boxed in, right, with this digital. And I won't tell you that some of the first things my 5-year-old granddaughter did, what she ordered off of this thing. So, all right. So, but to this chart, I borrowed this chart from Jim Batterson. He's here today. I asked a question of Matthew earlier. He served as an advisor to the Virginia Secretary of Education during then Governor Kane's administration. And I met Jim through a good friend of mine, Charlie Camarda, who some of you might know, a NASA astronaut from, I started to say former astronaut, but I don't think you're ever a former astronaut. A NASA astronaut from NASA Langley, a great friend of mine. By the way, Jim and Charlie and I are getting together this afternoon to follow up what we can do for next steps in this area, so it means that much to us. They gave me some great Virginia perspective, which I probably didn't have before, and tons of information. We could spend all afternoon, and Patrick's probably behind me telling me I'm already out of time, talking about what they shared with me, so we're going to continue to do that. But Jim calls this the Stem Continuum, and it was developed for his work with the Department of Education, so you might have seen, maybe some of you have seen it before, but it really spoke to me and my idea of the digital transformation and how it relates to education and workforce. It displays the elements of, so from Jim, it displays the elements of STEM from the most theoretical on the left to the most hands-on on the right. And by the way, von Braun used to call the hands-on work the dirty hands approach. At NASA, back in that day, we always built our launch vehicle first at NASA before we contracted it out so that we would really know how it was being built when the contractors built it. We still do a little bit of that today. We try to get hands-on work. That goes back to that piece of equipment that I showed you from NASA Langley. But anyway, while this might look like stovepipes, it should really be seen as a continuum where each of these disciplines, the sharing of knowledge is flowing fairly seamlessly into its neighbor. That's also how the digital environment is going to allow us to work, with information flowing from one stage to another and even back again if needed. Now, I don't have time, but Jim's got a great story of how he relates this to the Big Bang Theory and the interactions between Sheldon and Leonard and Howard. I think we should introduce a CTE graduate into that mix, and it would really, I think it would be pretty funny. I could write part of the script for him, I think. So I got to move on. I think that Patrick's going to tap me on the shoulder here in a minute. Always happens to me when I give a speech. I can't get it finished. I mean, I've run out of time. I could finish, but y'all would not get lunch. Anyway, I better. Patrick, I've got a clock that says I've taken 18 minutes of my 15 minutes. So I didn't get, so I'm going to skip this chart. But this is a great chart that we use from our work, from our White House work, really. And it just says we can't do all this technology development work without the appropriate workforce, right? And we focus a lot in that White House sponsored effort on the CTE area. So I do want you to know that. So here's this is sort of my get off the stage chart, and let's see where my notes are about this chart since I've skipped ahead so far. Yeah. So this is a photo of our 2017 summer class. So this is both a mix of summer and undergraduate students that we had at NASA Marshall from last summer. I tried to meet and talk to as many of these young folks as I could. And I tell you what, they come really inspired. And they come more, as well as I do, they come more digitally capable and ready than I'll probably ever be. So the next generation, I think, is prepared, and they're going to be able to embrace whatever we give to them. They're going to be able to do more than we could. They're more capable. They come better equipped than folks that are my age when we came in to the workforce. Heck, they have an encyclopedia at their fingertips today, right? We used to have to. I still have a set of encyclopedias. I was going to talk a little bit about this book. I've been reading and I'm not finished with it. This book from Joseph, Dr. Aoun, president of Northeastern University. He's got this book, Robot Proof, and he says that the next generation is going to need these kind of qualities: systems thinking, entrepreneurship, cultural agility, and critical thinking. I'm with Matthew, and I'm going to add they're going to need some hands-on experience as well. I'll finish up, but I don't want to. You see a little inset at the upper right there. I've used this chart in different forums. It's really my favorite chart, and it shows how we originally worked at NASA, right, with big blackboards and that kind of thing. But it's just meant to show how vast the difference is in the way and how things have changed from the earliest days at NASA and you can just imagine where we are today with all the digital capabilities. And so I'll end by saying that what we're doing, if we can send our astronauts back to the moon and on to Mars, I'm sure, I'm positive that what we're talking about today we can do a very good job of as well. And so NASA is ready to support you in that, shoulder to shoulder, and be a partner. So thanks again for the invitation from everyone, and it's been my pleasure.